just finally going to let you go. We're going to Wembley.
We are.
Mission accomplished.
We're going to Wembley. We're going to Wembley, and it's hard to believe. And you know, for me as well as an individual who's spent a lot of my life at this club, you know, nearly half my life at this club, either as a player, as assistant coach, and now as a coach, to be part of the group that's the first ones to take Batley Bulldogs or Batley Rugby League Club to Wembley is an absolute honour.
Craig, come at the end of the year, first things first, just have a bit of a review of 2023, really. Some memorable moments there, without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a bit of a maybe a bit bittersweet season, really, with missing out on the playoffs at the end of the season. You know, the big highlight of the season is obviously playing at Wembley, being the first time that Batley's been to Wembley in the club's history. You know, they won 3 Challenge Cups, but they were all at Headingley, so it's the first time that the club and the fans and the players have been down there to Wembley, and that was just a real good experience for everybody concerned. I think it took a lot out of us. You know, we did have a weekend off, I think, from March, April time, so we were playing every spare weekend, so I think that just took a toll on us towards the end of the season. And after the Wembley experience, we had that bit of a dip in form and energy a little bit, really, and just didn't quite have enough to manage to get that last place in the playoffs. So a little bit disappointing that we didn't make the playoffs, but still a memorable season nonetheless.
Greg, in the dressing room, not usually this tidy, but do you remember the first time you walked in here as a player, perhaps?
Yeah, I do. Funnily enough, I came on trial when 1998, and Dave Ward was coach, and that was at the time when we still had a first team and a Lions team, as it was then, reserves. And I just walked in, I turned right into this first changing room and sat down in the corner there, not realising that the Alliance team changing room were next door. I think got a few looks on first team regulars, and then got swiftly moved next door to the Alliance team changing room.
And fast forward in a few years, obviously you came back as assistant coach with JK, but then to come in here first time as head coach first came out, how was that feeling?
Yeah, very good. You know, obviously I've come off the back of I guess a bit of a bad experience at Keighley, leaving there when I didn't want someone to leave, and then got the opportunity to come back to Batley. That was the COVID season, so it was a curtailed COVID season there, so a little bit of a learning curve there, something that I don't think anybody had experienced before, and we had a lot of things to work through during that short curtailed season, so it was very, very interesting. I think we played 5 or 6 games in that season, which was a difficult season before they cancelled it.
And going right through to the last game we had in here, I guess it was a bit odd because we weren't quite sure whether it was going to be the last game. Probably was going to be the last game here, but you're able to say goodbye to a couple of players as well. That put in mind perhaps some of the real characters you've met over the years in this very room, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, there were no guarantees that it were going to be his last game, but it were definitely going to be the last game up here at the Mount, and you know, send off 2 characters like JC and Benny Kay. We did it in decent style, I think, and you know, the JC, a legend of the club, you know, 4th on the all-time try-scoring list. I think it was you know, fitting that he came on and I guess changed the game for us a little bit, gave us a little bit of enthusiasm, and scored the try in that corner. And I guess the only thing that could have topped it is if BK scored as well, but you know, he celebrated in his usual enthusiastic style, did BK.
And I guess it's rustic, it's maybe a little old-fashioned, this place, but it's this room compared to some now, but it does what it needs to do, and it's quite a special room, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's not changed apart from a fresh lick of paint that it gets every single year. There's no mod cons in there. We put a TV up there when I first come back. But other than that, everything is exactly the same as it was when I walked in 1998. As you say, it's not a modern stadium. It's modern changing room. The stadium has changed beyond all recognition since 1998, since I came. You know, I think it's probably one of the best stadiums in the Championship, and it's a fantastic place to be around, and it's one that I've spent nearly 2 decades at, so I've really enjoyed my time here.
For that many players play at a stadium, or certainly coaches coach at a stadium, there's already a Terrace named after them. How's that been looking at this from your dugout for the last few years?
Yeah, a bit surreal really. It was something an honour that I got when I finished playing. A bit of a weird one, like when you bring kids up now and the kids look at it and my kids look at it and wonder why my name's up there. They're not going to quite compute why it's there, and you say it's because I've scored a few tries and they don't understand why I've got a terrace named after me. That maybe in a few years' time then it might become a bit more clearer to them.
And a few tries scored down in this bottom corner or on these bottom posts. Was there any particular standout for you?
Oh, I don't know. I think I scored 95% of my tries off same move. I think but no, it's. I think my first season and a half. I came off the bench most of the time. I think it was either Jez Dyson or Jacko, the fullback at the time, and funnily enough, we all seemed to play uphill in first half and come downhill in second half. And I also come on in second half and play pretty much every game that I played initially in my first season downhill, which were very good. And I think JD was on a person that wanted us to lose toss so he could play downhill in first half. I think he played pretty much a season half always uphill for 40 minutes.
Uphill was still torturous then as it is now, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the worst games I ever played. We got beat in the Challenge Cup against Oldham St Anne's 10-0. I think we played downhill at first half and the wind were against us, the rain were against us. We came out in second half to play uphill and the wind had changed directions. I think it might have been Pricey who kicked off and the ball blew back over his head, and that's how strong the wind and rain were. And I think at that moment in time, I think we knew it weren't going to be a great day for us.
But there were a few big games you played in here during that spell as well. We had a couple of relegation, nail biters we played in, and a big playoff game against Oldham here, which was a good big crowd just before you went to Leigh the week after in the semi-final, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think if I'm right as well, I think we scored on the first set of the game from the kick-off. I think Steve Hill broke through on right hand side and drew full back and give it to me, and managed to score in first set of the game. I think it was, and managed to hold on. I think 1998 when the Transpennine Cup here as well, which was the week before I made my debut. That was against Oldham as well, which was the memorable game, which I weren't a part of. But the following week I made my debut, so I just missed out on a final the previous week.
Going right back to the beginning, as the 4 years worked out as you hoped, planned it would, or better?
I guess better really. You know, we've in the 3 seasons we've managed to get a semi-final appearance, a grand final appearance, a Wembley appearance as well. So if somebody had said that you'll experience all them things in the 3 full seasons that you're here, I'd have snapped their hands off with that one. Particularly with the sort of club that we are, in respect of as finances and as budget compared to everybody else in the Championship. So I think it's something that we can all be proud of, coaching staff, directors, fans, players, everybody who's been involved with the club. It's certainly seen more highs than lows, I think, over the last 3.5 years.
One thing I know you said when you wanted to do when you came, and I think you certainly have to, is to bring back that kind of Batley spirit and keep this kind of family atmosphere around the camp and make a real tight-knit group, and we've definitely had that for those years.
Yeah, we have. I think it's really important that everybody at the club knows that their contribution's valued, whether it's the car park attendants, the people that are selling the golden gambles, the people that are on the turnstiles, people that are working behind the bars, and then from the players, the staffs, the directors, and the supporters, everybody's got a purpose and everybody's got a value, and that's the only way that a club like Batley will survive. They've not got the amount of money that certain clubs have to offer players to make it attractive to come and sign for them. So Batley have got to do something differently, and that's making people hopefully feel valued and enjoy the experience. And it's a real family club where people can come up, the kids can go onto the field after a game, which not many other clubs do, if any other club does that. And it's certainly something that my kids really enjoy when they come up, they're going on the field after the game, and they always ask if we go to an away game, can we go on the field after the game, and it's pretty much no. So it's something that it's a bit of a unique club, is Batley, and they always seem to be everybody's second favourite team. It's just a shame that they're not more people's favourite team that can get down here and get the spectators into the ground that the club deserve.
And that feeling and that atmosphere, it settles right down, goes right down through to the squad, and gives that extra bit of unity, perhaps, that maybe has carried us through some of those more difficult times when maybe the opposition has been on paper a better side. You know, we've had that particular spirit that's difficult to buy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and I think you can see that with the amount of time that people spend at Batley throughout their career. You know, we've got a lot of people that have spent a lot of years here at the club that potentially could and should have maybe gone somewhere else to earn more money, but it's just the feel of the club that they enjoy being down there, and they like staying down there, and the togetherness that everybody shows at the club. It makes it a good place to be, an enjoyable place to be, and sometimes having that feel and that togetherness is a little bit more important than a couple of extra quid in your pocket at the end of the month. And that's something that Batley needs to keep together over the next few seasons, to make sure they keep that feel, to keep that togetherness, and make it a place where people enjoy coming and the families enjoy coming as well. Because if the families are happy, then it's a lot easier for the players to spend the 3 times a week training and the game day on a weekend. It does take a lot of time away from your family, so your family's got to be really happy and supportive. And if we can make that environment down there for people's families to come and enjoy it on game day, then it makes it easy for the players.
Talking over the players, and over the 4 years you've been here, without wanting to put you on the spot, but obviously we're putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Some real characters there. Who's really sort of stood out for you? Who do you think's been a massive help? Who's been the man who's maybe lifted the camp who's been a big help to the coaches? And
Yeah, well, I think the first one is obviously the guy that's taken over from me, and Mocko. He's been outstanding for me since I've been back here. I worked with him as an assistant coach under JK. He's been at the club 12, 13 years, whatever it is now, and he's finally got the opportunity and the chance now to put his own stamp on the team and be the head honcho, and I think it's thoroughly deserved. But certainly in my time back as head coach, having him as assistant, he's been first class, and I think that's good assistants like Goldust, and it was certainly great for me in my time here, and hopefully I've been good for him and been a good guidance for him to step up now into a head coach position. Players wise, it's difficult, really difficult to single anybody out, because every single player that's contributed in one way or another since I've been here. So I don't really want to single any individual out. And normally when you ask questions like that, you mention 1 or 2 people, and then 10 minutes after you've finished your interview, you think of somebody else that you should have mentioned. So it's you said you weren't going to put me on the spot, and you did, but I'm going to be a politician and sit on the fence and not give you a direct answer to that one, mate.
The only answer I expected. But at the time, there's been some real good players who you've seen kind of develop as well, which is rewarding as well, whether it be young players who've come and developed and stayed here, or young players who've developed and moved on, as we've seen at the moment. So that must be quite rewarding for you and Mocko's coaches as well. Definitely,
and I think, again, that's sometimes the situation that we're in as a club in terms of the recruitment, that we're stuck sometimes with the sort of players that we can recruit. So we're looking for what Kevin always deems as money balls, and he wants money balls that basically wants people to come and pay subs to come and play, rather than paying the players. So we've got to look at people that may be looking for a second chance. People have been at other clubs and either not been successful for one reason or another, or we're looking at young kids that are dropping out of Super League and want to get back into Super League. And as a club, if we can show there's a direct pathway there that we can develop players to, if they've dropped out of the Super League system as an academy player and they're not being offered a first team contract, but they can drop into Batley and develop and get back into Super League, which we've shown a number of times during my time, but also previous to my time, that Batley's a really good it's a real good ground for people to develop the skills and put themselves back onto that rugby league map and get back into Super League, and they're the sort of players that we need to attract as a club, and people have had that opportunity, and then it's down to the player themselves. And I think the real important thing in your recruitment is that you've got to get the right people to come here for the right reasons, and whether that is people that have maybe not been successful at the clubs for whatever reason, as long as you sit down in front of them and you get a feel for that player and they get a feel for you, and there's a connection there, then you can make it work. And so we've seen it a number of times, whether it's young kids that are coming that have gone on to bigger and better things, or it's players that have failed at other clubs or not quite succeeded as much as they should have done. They've come in and they've rediscovered their love for the game and been successful as well.
And that can only be good for the club and for the championship. It shows that there is a pathway for anybody who's got that work ethic and who's got that ability. They can be rewarded still in this division. Without
a doubt, and I think it's I think maybe the dream is sold a little bit to these young kids, that when they come through the scholarship systems and the academy systems and the reserve teams, that if they're not offered that full-time deal, then they've failed. And it's not that at all. It's just sometimes understanding that it might not be your time at that moment in time, so you might have to drop down to League One or to Championship, or go and play some first team rugby against misters somewhere else. You know, you don't always have that perfect progression where you'll work through the systems at one single club and you'll end up being a first team player for years to come. That doesn't always work, and it takes a lot of time. Sometimes people develop at different rates, whether it's growth or putting weight on or getting faster and stronger, whatever it might be. Sometimes some people just need to go out and play some first team rugby somewhere else, and it might be a 2, 3, 4 year development to get back into that full-time environment if that's what people want to do. There's certainly an avenue there in League One and Championship for players to do that and to develop. And not only us as a club, but other clubs in the Championship and League One have done that as well, and shown there's a definite progression and a path back into full-time rugby if that's what the player wants and they work hard enough to do that.
And just moving away from the players and back to maybe some of the games we've played over the last few years, there are some very obvious highlights. Obviously, semi-final, grand final, Wembley appearance, as you mentioned. But those three aside, are there any particular games that stand out and even though more satisfying?
I think the last game against Newcastle this season was just a real satisfying one because, you know, the squad were busted. You know, it were a long, hard season. We lost players along the way, and people went out on loan and came back, and people playing out of position, and so we were a broken squad towards the end of the season. People playing through injuries, and we lost a lot of people through injury as well. And I just thought it typified what I guess I've seen in my time since I've been back here is what people wanted to do and were willing to do. You know, we had Ben Kay, Alistair Leake and Luke Blake all in the front row, so we had 3 hookers all in the front, starting front row against Newcastle, and Ben White at 13, who played a lot of season at 9. Then we had Ollie Burton on the bench, so we had potentially 5 hookers in the team in the 17 in that last game, and we ended up winning that game and digging deep and doing enough to win that game. Johnny Campbell coming back and scoring a try in his last appearance for the club as well. So I just think that game sort of typified everything that I wanted to bring to the club if I could potentially do that when I came back, and that was that togetherness and that fight until the death and just enjoying playing with each other. I thought that last game just sort of typified that feel that we tried to bring here to the club.
And that takes us on to a new chapter for you. I know you've been working at Castleford already this season, enjoying it and looking forward to the next challenge now that becomes a more of a full-time thing rather than being here as well.
Yeah, I'm there for the next 2 seasons, and hopefully the next 2 seasons aren't as nail-biting as this one, where we were, you know, down at the bottom end of the table up until the last couple of games of the season before it was secured. The Super League status was secured, and it's I guess Castleford is going through a bit of a development stage again now, so it's maybe pressing that reset button and getting some younger players in, regenerating the squad and regenerating that atmosphere again, and trying to put an identity on the playing group at Castleford of these are what we want these players to achieve and what sort of players we want to get there to the club. And again, it's younger players that are looking at maybe trying to stamp down and cement a first team place. People looking to get some sort of continuous first team rugby and develop a little bit, like I said, a bit of an identity really, and enjoy playing together and representing Castleford, because Castleford is a proud rugby league club. It's a proud rugby league town, and rugby league is first and foremost in the community at Castleford. So that's what we've got to try and get the players to buy into, the staff to buy into. That's what we want, you know, to bring back to Castleford now, is to be proud of playing for Castleford and show that when you get out there on a game day.
You mentioned him already, but sort of taking over the reins now from yourself, with some great backroom staff that have been here with both of you over the years. But Mark Moxon, what can we expect to see from Mocko, do you think?
He's tenacious, he's hard work, and his attention to detail is first class. And people won't have seen it because it's everything's behind the scenes. But you know, for the last sort of couple of months, I think he's been working pretty much every day, and he's finding out that, you know, as a head coach, you've got to meet a number of people before you sign one. I think you normally meet around about 7 or 8 people before you sign one. So I think he's getting high on caffeine with the amount of coffees that he's having, the amount of meetings that he's having. He's putting miles on his car and taking time out of his day. I think he wants to go back to work to have a bit of a rest to get away from rugby.
It's a shock in some ways for Mocko. I'm sure he knew what to expect. Really, it's just being in that chair is a different game, then I guess, isn't it?
It is, yeah, massively so. And it was. I can remember my first week when I moved from Batley's assistant to head coach at Keighley, and the best way that I could describe it was it's almost like you've walked into a room that you've never been in before, and all these other doors are open, and you've got different people coming out of all these rooms behind these doors that you've never had to deal with before, and every single person wants a piece of you. You know, whether it's speaking to players, whether it's agents, whether it's press that's ringing you up, and other people that are contacting you. You've got all these different things that you've never even had to sort of think about before. So he's having to deal with that now. He'll get used to it, and I'm sure the last sort of couple of months has been a little bit of an eye opener for him. But he's no doubt relishing that now, and getting ready to put a squad in place for Batley next season to go into the 2024 season.
And he's got good people around him. He's got good contacts from the past, good experience himself. Knows the play as well, so it's a good running start.
It is, yeah, and he's been assistant, like I said, for the last 12, 13 years down there. So he's got a good ground about knowing what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. And you know, he's worked under probably one of the most successful coaches in JK for a number of years, both at Batley and at Wales as well. So you know, he's got a number of people that he can fall back on if he needs to pick up that phone and speak to anybody at any time.
Great. We hope you've enjoyed the last 4 years, or three and a quarter, I guess, as much as we have. It's been a pleasure having you at the club. Thank you for everything that you've given us, and very best of luck going forward. And we'll see you up here plenty.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be up here as a spectator on a Sunday, definitely on a game day, and with a Guinness in my hand and watching it without having any stress on the game, just to the sideline.